Okay, so today we're going to dive into something that I think a lot of our listeners have probably at least thought about, if not actually dealt with themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and that is international shipping.
Yeah.
And we've talked about kind of e-commerce and stuff on the show before,
Right.
but this is kind of a different beast, right?
It is a different beast.
It's
Yeah.
it's a lot more complicated.
Yeah, it's a lot more
When you're
time.
talking about sending a package from one country to another,
Uh-huh.
and specifically today we're zeroing in on shipping from the UK to Nigeria.
Okay.
And the reason we're doing this is because our listeners sent in this really interesting piece of audio for us to dig into.
Okay.
And it's a clip from a podcast
Mm-hmm.
called Barrel Breakdown, How Claire Got Burned Before She Found Cargonaija.
Whoa.
And that title alone, I think, kind of gives you a sense of
It does.
what we're going to be talking about here.
Like, there's some drama there.
Yeah, there's some drama.
Some intrigue.
There's definitely some intrigue.
Yeah.
And our goal today is to really kind of unpack this conversation between Greg, who is a journalist
Mm-hmm.
who focuses on price comparisons,
Got it.
and Claire, who's a master's student who's
Mm.
based in the UK.
Right.
And they discuss Claire's experience with shipping a barrel to Nigeria.
Okay.
And she had a really bad experience at first.
Oh.
And then she had a really good experience.
So she went through the ringer a little bit?
Yeah, she kind of went through the ringer.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna really dissect what happened there, and hopefully give you some takeaways so you can avoid some of the pitfalls
Right.
that she encountered.
I love that because it's something that, just hearing that title, Barrel Breakdown,
Right.
I mean, that resonates with so many people, I think, on just a fundamental level. Like, we've all had those experiences where we feel like we've just been,
Taken advantage of.
yeah, absolutely taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And those kinds of situations can really make us feel powerless.
Yeah.
So I think it's really empowering to dive into this and see, okay, what can we learn from this?
Yeah.
How can we prevent this from happening to ourselves or to
Yeah.
our loved ones?
And it's really interesting, too, because this specific example of shipping a barrel to Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like kind of a niche thing,
Right.
but it actually exposes, I think, some broader issues
Oh, totally.
that affect anyone who uses service industries,
Absolutely.
what we've all dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's shipping or,
Right.
getting your internet hooked up or whatever it is.
Getting your car repaired.
Yeah.
Booking a flight.
We've all dealt with
Yeah.
companies that aren't transparent about pricing.
Oh, for sure.
And
Or bury the fees.
yeah. Yeah.
In the fine print.
And that's really what we're talking about here.
Yeah. And it can be so frustrating because you feel like,
Right.
you do your research, you try to be a smart consumer,
Right.
you shop around, and then you get hit with these hidden fees.
You get to the end and you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize this was going
Yeah.
to be so expensive.
Right.
And it makes you feel like you've been tricked.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's never a good feeling,
No, it's not a good feeling.
especially when it's something as important as, sending goods to your family.
Right. Especially when it's something that's like really meaningful.
Yeah.
Right. You're not just like buying a
Yeah.
TV on Amazon.
It's not just a random purchase.
Yeah.
This is something that has, emotional weight attached
Yeah.
to it.
So let's get into the specifics of Claire's story.
Okay, let's do it.
So she needed to ship a
Yeah.
barrel to her family in Lagos,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nigeria.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was a standard 220-liter
Okay.
shipping barrel.
Got it. So like one of those big blue barrels.
Yeah, one of those big blue
Okay.
barrels.
Okay.
And she was sending, kind of typical stuff,
Uh-huh.
groceries,
Mm-hmm.
clothes,
Right.
personal items.
Things you would typically send to family.
Yeah, things that you would typically send to family.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
she did some research online,
Okay.
and she found a shipping company,
Uh-huh.
and they quoted her a price of £2.50 per kilogram
Okay.
for sea freight.
All right. So sea freight meaning it's going by ship as opposed to
Right.
by air.
Exactly. And sea freight is typically,
Oh.
cheaper,
It takes longer, but it's cheaper.
slower,
Yeah.
but cheaper.
Yep.
And so she's like, okay, £2.50 a kilo. That sounds
Reasonable.
reasonable,
Yeah.
right? Like that's not
Uh-huh.
outrageous.
Yeah, not crazy.
And she didn't really think too much about the weight of the barrel
Okay.
at this point.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily.
Right. You're just kind of thinking about, okay, I got to get this stuff
Mm-hmm.
to my family.
Yeah, get it there safely.
What's the cheapest way to do it?
Right.
And so she plaques up the barrel,
Okay.
sends it off,
Uh-huh.
and then she gets the bill.
Oh, no.
And the bill is 375 pounds.
Oh, wow. That's a lot more than she was probably anticipating.
Way more than she was anticipating.
Wow.
And she's like, what? How is this possible?
Right.
Like £2.50 a kilo?
Uh-huh.
How'd it get so expensive?
Yeah, what was in that barrel?
And that's where the weight comes in.
Oh, okay.
So a standard 220-liter barrel, when it's full of stuff,
Mhm.
can weigh upwards of 150 kilograms.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which, if you do the math,
Right.
250 a kilo
Yeah.
times 150 kilos,
Mm-hmm.
you get 375 pounds.
That's how they got her.
Yeah, that's how they got her.
Wow.
And she felt completely robbed,
I would too.
right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a significant amount of money,
Yeah.
especially for, a student
Yeah.
or anyone really. And it's just so frustrating because it feels like,
Right.
She did everything right.
Mhm.
She got a quote, she shopped around,
Right.
but she didn't realize that
The weight
the weight was going to be the killer.
is going to be the killer.
Yeah.
And so she calls the company
Mhm.
and she's like, what is going on? Why is this so expensive?
Did they give her any explanation?
And they're basically like, yeah, well, that's the weight.
Right.
That's the price per kilo.
Tough luck.
That's what you owe us.
Wow.
And she's just like completely deflated.
Oh, I can imagine.
Right, like she just feels like
Totally helpless.
totally helpless.
Yeah.
And like she's been
Taken advantage of.
taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Um,
So what happened next?
so luckily,
Okay.
she had a friend
Uh-huh.
at her university
Mm-hmm.
who had shipped a barrel to Nigeria before.
Okay.
And this friend was like,
Yeah.
gotta use this company, Cargonaija.
Cargonaija.
Yeah, okay. And so Claire was a little hesitant at first because she's like,
Right.
I just got burned.
She's gun shy now.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to get taken advantage of again.
Right.
But friend's like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
These guys are great.
Mm-hmm.
They have a flat rate.
Okay. A flat rate.
Yeah, you pay one price,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what the weight is.
Regardless of the weight, that is amazing.
Yeah.
That takes away so much of the stress.
Right.
And the uncertainty.
No more surprises.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, fine,
Mm-hmm.
I'll try it.
Yeah.
And so she goes to Cargonaija's website.
Okay.
And the price is clearly stated right there.
Good.
150 pounds per barrel.
Wow. That's less than half of what she paid before.
Yeah, less than half.
That's amazing.
And she's like, okay, is this real?
Yeah. Too good to be true almost.
Like, is there some catch
Uh-huh. Huh.
that I'm not seeing?
Right.
And so she calls them
Okay.
and she's like,
Mm-hmm.
is this price real? Like, is there some hidden fee
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to get hit with later?
Yeah.
And they're like, no.
No.
It's 150 pounds.
That's it.
That's it.
Wow.
And the person on the phone was super helpful,
Okay.
walked her through the whole process,
Good.
explained everything really clearly.
It's so important.
Yeah, it was just like a completely different experience
Yeah. Night and day.
than she had with the first company.
Right.
And so she's
Yeah.
like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it.
She took the plunge.
Yeah, she took the plunge.
Okay.
She shipped the barrel with Cargonaija,
Uh-huh.
and everything went perfectly.
Right.
It arrived on time
Mm-hmm.
in Lagos.
Yeah.
No problems.
Good.
Everything was in perfect condition.
That's awesome.
And so she was just so relieved.
I bet.
Right.
So she got her peace of mind back.
She got her peace of mind back.
Yeah.
And since then,
Mm-hmm.
she's actually shipped another barrel with him.
Okay. So she's a repeat customer.
Yeah, she's a repeat customer.
Yeah.
That's great.
And she said she's going to keep using them.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
If they're that good.
And now she's telling all of her friends,
Mm-hmm.
like, don't make the same mistake I made.
Right.
Use Cargonaija.
Yeah.
And she even compared them to Amazon Prime.
Oh, wow.
She's like, it's like Amazon Prime
Mm.
for barrels to Nigeria.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, because it's like,
Yeah.
they're so professional. They give you updates. They have
Right.
tracking.
You know what's going on.
You know exactly where your barrel is.
It's so key.
The whole process is just so smooth.
Yeah, it takes away all the anxiety of
Yes.
the unknown.
And so I think the big takeaway here
Okay.
is that when you're shipping something like a barrel
Mm-hmm.
internationally,
Yeah.
you really got to be careful
Uh-huh.
about the pricing structure
Right.
because weight-based pricing can really sneak up on you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It sounds good in theory.
Right.
£2.50 a kilo. Yeah, that sounds reasonable,
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
especially when you don't really have a sense of
Right.
how much this thing's going to weigh.
Right. And you don't think about the fact that
Yeah.
like clothes and
Groceries?
can get really heavy
Yeah, they add up.
when you're packing a whole barrel full of them.
Exactly.
And so a flat rate is just so much simpler.
It is so much simpler.
And it gives you that peace of mind,
Right.
knowing
Yeah.
that you're not going to get hit with some crazy bill
Exactly.
at the end.
Yeah, no surprises.
No surprises.
That's the worst.
And so I think this is a really good lesson,
Mm-hmm.
not just for shipping barrels,
Right.
but for any service industry.
Oh, absolutely.
Like anytime you're
Yeah.
dealing with a company
Mm-hmm.
that's providing you a service,
Right.
you got to really pay attention to
The pricing.
the pricing structure.
How are they calculating that final cost?
Yeah, how are they calculating the final cost?
Yeah.
Because there might be some hidden fees
Mm-hmm.
lurking in there.
Yeah, they might try to get you with the,
Right.
the add-ons
The add-on.
and that.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's always good to ask
Questions.
Ask questions,
Yeah.
do your research,
Mm-hmm.
and don't be afraid to
Shop around.
shop around
Yeah.
and compare prices,
Exactly.
because you might be surprised
You might be surprised
at what you find.
at what you find and how much money you can save.
Yeah, and how much stress you can save yourself.
Yeah. Peace of mind is priceless.
Peace of mind is priceless.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what Claire's story really highlights,
Mm-hmm.
is that sometimes,
Yeah.
it's worth it to pay a little bit more
Right.
to get that
For that peace of mind.
peace of mind
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
certainty.
Knowing that things are going to go smoothly.
Right.
Yeah. And that you're not going to get hit with some,
Yeah.
crazy bill at the end.
Like sometimes it's worth it to go with the company
Right.
that's maybe a little bit more expensive,
Uh-huh.
but it has a really good reputation.
Yeah. Proven track record.
Yeah.
Transparency in their pricing.
And that's what Cargonaija seems to be.
Yeah. They sound great.
They sound like a really good company.
Yeah. And I think it's so important.
Mhm.
We've been talking about
Mm-hmm.
the kind of individual consumer perspective.
Right.
But I think this also speaks to,
Mm-hmm.
businesses and how they approach
Yeah.
their customers.
Yeah.
Cargonaija's success
Mhm.
is clearly built on,
Mm-hmm.
providing a great service,
Right.
being transparent, and building trust with their customers.
And having a simple,
Yeah.
easy to understand pricing model.
Yeah.
Like that's
huge.
huge.
I mean, people
That's
just want to know what they're getting into.
All
They
right.
don't want to have to decipher,
Yeah.
complicated fee structures.
Nobody wants to do math.
No.
Right.
Especially when they're trying to, send something important.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really good lesson
Mm,
for any business.
yeah. Any company that's listening,
Yeah.
take notes.
If you want to be successful,
Yeah.
be like Cargonaija.
Yeah. Be like Cargonaija.
Right.
Provide a great service.
Mm-hmm.
Be transparent.
Be transparent.
And make it easy for people to understand
Yeah.
what they're getting and what they're paying for.
And build those relationships
Yeah.
with your customers.
Because in the end,
Yeah.
that's what's going to lead to,
Right.
long-term success and loyalty.
Right. Because people will come back
Yeah.
if they have a good experience.
Exactly. And they'll tell their friends, that which is the best advertising you can get.
Yeah. Word of mouth is
It's gold.
gold.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I think that's a really good place to leave it.
I think so too.
I hope this was helpful for you all.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, be careful out there
Be careful out there.
when you're shipping your barrels,
Do your research, ask questions,
and don't get burned
and don't get burned
like Claire.
like Claire.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
See you later. Bye.